What's up guys, it's me Baby Weenus. I'm here today with my first video of a new game called Legends of Runeterra. Today we're going to be going over the first of many guides for different decks we've created. This one is going to be for a Teemo and Zed deck. So far I've played 30 games with this deck and I've won 23 out of 30 games, giving this a 77% win rate right now. I'm going to go over the deck and all the different individual cards. So let's get into it. So here's the deck, Teemo and Zed. So here's the deck list. I'm going to go over every card in this deck, starting out with the most important ones. There's 4 cards in this deck that you must have 3 copies of in order for this to succeed. So the first one here is going to be Teemo. He's the first champion. If you don't know, the way Teemo works, he's a 1-cost 1/1. He is elusive, so every time he attacks, he can only be blocked by other elusive units. It's kind of like flying if you ever played Magic the Gathering. So that way, he gets to attack and not be blocked most of the time. His ability is Nexus Strike, meaning if he hits the opponent's Nexus, he plants 5 poisonous mushrooms in the opponent's deck. And then when he's done that 3 times and he's gotten 15 mushrooms, he will level up to level 2, which he becomes a 2/2 instead of a 1/1. And then whenever he attacks, he doesn't add 5 mushrooms, he doubles the amount of mushrooms in the deck. So it can ramp up really quickly. He can become a threat and put hundreds of mushrooms into the opponent's deck. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute here. His spell, if you already have a Teemo on board and you have one in hand, he will turn into Teemo's Mushroom Cloud, which is a burst spell, meaning you can play it whenever you want, including in the middle of combat. It just adds another 5 mushrooms. So I definitely do recommend casting this. If you already have a Teemo on board, play this. It'll add 5 more. It'll get you to level him up a little faster. Also, it does shuffle another Teemo back into your deck, so you don't lose the card. And that's fine that he's put back in your deck, and I'll go over that in a minute why. Then each puff cap, every time they're drawn, it deals 1 damage to the enemy Nexus. So with the strategy I have here, you're able to put 100 or more puff caps into their deck pretty rapidly, meaning they're going to be taking multiple damage every single time they draw a card. The next card that you absolutely have to have 3 of in here is the other champion, Zed. So the way Zed works is he is a 3/2 with quick attack. The way quick attack works is if he's attacking, he strikes before the blocker. It's just like first strike if you played Magic. So say he's 3/2 and he fights another person who's 3/2, he will kill them, and then once they're dead, they don't get to hit him back, so he takes no damage. When he levels up, when he has done this twice, which actually can happen quicker because his abilities, when he attacks, not only does he have quick attack, but he also creates a living shadow, which is right here. Living Shadow, which is a 3/2 ephemeral. Ephemeral means that it dies at the end of the round, but it also means that if this hits once and Zed hits once, he levels up right away. So he can just attack once. If he's not blocked, then he levels up immediately. His spell here, Zed's Shadow Shift, is a fast, meaning you can cast it during combat. It is recall an ally and summon this Living Shadow in its place. This can be very useful, especially if the opponents are trying to kill your Teemo. You can swap out Teemo for one of these and put Teemo back in your hand and play him again to save your Teemo. But overall, Zed is very powerful, and I'll show you once we have some gameplay footage here just how powerful he really can be. The next card that this deck absolutely needs is called Kinku Wayfinder. This card is very powerful, specifically the way I have this deck set up. So overall, 4 mana for a 2/3 is not crazy powerful, but the ability is the main reason why this is so strong. This works with Teemo, not with Zed, but it can make multiple Teemos really quickly. So the allegiance means that when you summon this card, if the top card of your deck is the same as the region of this card, which in this case is Ionia, then it triggers this ability. So summon 2 1-cost allies from your deck. The reason this works so well here is because in this deck here, there is only one 1-cost ally, which is Teemo. So if you go to the top of this deck here, you'll see Teemo is the only 1-cost ally. And then if you look at the very top here, you'll see 34 of these cards are Ionia. Only 6 of them are Piltover and Zaun. So 3 of them are Teemo, 3 of them are this other card, which we'll go over in a minute. But depending how you mulligan and which cards are in your starting hand, you have anywhere between an 80 to 90% chance of this Kinku Wayfinder summoning either 1 or 2 Teemos instantly. So you'll have a 2/3 for 4, and then you get possibly 2 more Teemos in your hand, and you can attack with them that same turn. It's really strong, and you'll see some examples of that in a minute as well. And then the final card is Dawn and Dusk. Absolutely is required. 3 copies in this. This is your finishing card. This is how you win the game most of the time. This card can be used on either Teemo or Zed. The way this works, it's a slow spell, so you have to play it before battle. But assuming that the opponent doesn't stop the casting of this, then it summons 2 copies of an ally. They're ephemeral, so they only last 1 turn, but with Teemo and Zed, this is very powerful. So if you use this on Teemo, you'll summon 2 more Teemos for this turn. Let's just say Teemo's leveled up, he's a 2/2. You cast this, you have 3 2/2 Teemos. They all attack without getting blocked, and then each one of them is going to double the amount of mushrooms. Because they're elusive, they most likely won't be blocked. They'll do 6 damage, and then they will each double the amount of poisonous puffcalf mushrooms in the opponent's deck. So let's just say, for example, you already had 30 mushrooms in there. You cast that, and then the 3 Teemos attack. The 30 goes to 60, goes to 120, goes to 240, all in 1 turn. And all of a sudden, once you have over 200 mushrooms, they die very quickly. It's an easy way to win the game. So this card is absolutely a must-have. 3 of Dawn and Dusk. You'll see in a little bit. This is going to win you a lot of games. So that's with Teemo. The other option is when you cast this on Zed, because whenever Zed attacks, he summons another unit to attack with him of the same strength. You cast this, you have 3 Zeds for 1 turn. You attack with all 3 Zeds, and they each summon another unit of the same strength. They all have first strike, so that all of a sudden, you could cast this, if you have some mana saved up as early as turn 3 or 4, and then they have 6 3/2 units with first strike to deal with. Most of the time, they're not going to have very much. It's either going to kill all of their units, or they're going to take a large amount of damage. This is a great card to combine with Zed, and you'll see in a minute here. Alright, so now I'm going to go over all the rest of the cards in this deck. I have 1 copy of Rush. This you could possibly swap out for something else. This is the only card I was a little iffy on, but it does save you sometimes. It's a burst spell for 1 mana, gives an ally +1/+0 and quick attack, so sometimes this will save one of your units, especially if the opponent buffed up one of their cards after you attacked. You can usually use this to save something, but this is the 1 card you could possibly swap out for something else. Everything else in here I'm very confident with the amount of them and their synergy with the rest of the deck. So the next card, Clump of Wumps. This is a 2/2. This is the only Piltover and Zaun card in this deck besides Teemo. The reason for that, like I was explaining earlier, the Kinku Wayfinder, if the next card on top of your deck is Ionia, then it triggers and pulls the Teemos out. If it's not, then it doesn't do anything. So you don't really want very many of those cards. So I chose just these 2, and that's it. This is something you should also mulligan for. If you have 1 of them in your hand, I would keep it. Everything else you want to throw out and try to get Teemo. The Clump of Wumps, the way that this card works, is when it's summoned, it creates a mushroom cloud, which just plants 5 more poisonous mushrooms in their hands. So what you could do, turn 1, you play Teemo, attack with him, you put 5 mushrooms in. Turn 2, you play Clump of Wumps, get 1 of these in your hand. Then turn 3, when it's your turn to attack again, you attack with Teemo, you play this card, and all of a sudden you have 15 on turn 3, and Teemo is leveled up. Then you really start doubling the amount of mushrooms every turn, and it gets out of control. So this is a very strong card to include. There are other cards that exist that also give you mushroom clouds and plant mushrooms, but the more Piltover and Zaun cards you have in there, the less likely your Kenku Wayfinder is to activate, and that's one of the keys to winning with this. So I recommend 3 of these and nothing else from Piltover and Zaun. After that, we have Green Glade Duo. This is another elusive unit, so it's very likely to get through attacking without being blocked. It only can be blocked with other elusive units. It's a 2/1 for 2, and whenever you summon an ally, you give it +1/+0 this round. Most turns you attack, you're going to be summoning 1 or 2 additional minions before you attack, so this is usually a 3/1 or a 4/1 that's not going to get blocked. So every turn, you're dealing 2, 3, or 4 damage to the opponent that they're not blocking. It ramps up really quick and helps you get to that victory. After that, we have Keeper of Masks. This I have 2 copies of in here. When it's summoned, it gives allies +1/+0 this round. So, if you already have, say, 2 other minions on the board and you summon him, they both get buffed. You get a little additional damage. Plus, a 2/3 for 2 in the early game is very strong. You can probably block 1 or maybe even 2 incoming attacks with this before it dies. So it's a pretty strong card. It works well in this deck. After this, we have Deny. Deny is absolutely needed as well. 3 copies of this. This is a fast spell, meaning you can play it during combat. This is going to stop any fast or slow spell or any skill that the opponent uses, which is huge. A lot of times they're going to try to kill your Teemos or kill your Zeds with some type of spell or ability. If you have this ready, you're going to deny it. It's going to cancel out their thing. Say they play Avalanche and they try to kill 2 damage, or they try to deal 2 damage to all your units. This is going to stop Avalanche, stop any spell, and save everything. This is huge for saving your guys from getting killed. Next up, we have Scaled Snapper. I have 3 of this in here as well. This can be either a 5/2 or a 2/5. 90% of the time I play this, I'm going to be playing it as a 2/5. The main reason this is here is for defense. Because your elusive units are made for attacking, you don't usually block with them. Especially a 1/1 Teemo, you're never going to use that to block damage. And you can't just never block. You need to stop your opponents from killing you as well. So having these in here as 2/5s, you're usually going to be able to block 2 or sometimes 3 incoming attacks before this dies. So for 3 mana, a 2/5 is great. So I included 3 of these. I think that's a great addition to this deck. After that, we have Shadow Assassin. I have just 2 of these in here. This is another elusive unit, so it can't be blocked except for by another elusive unit. 2/2 for 3, and when it's summoned, draw another card. There's a lot of low-cost cards in this deck, so getting an extra card draw to play more of the spells and more of the minions is very nice. This is just going to add a little bit of additional damage each turn. Works out well with the other elusive cards. Then we have Twin Disciplines. 3 copies of this as well. This is going to be a card that's going to save your cards from getting killed. It has the options for either +3/+0 or +0/+3 for 1 round. It's burst, so you can cast it in the middle of combat or to counter something else. So say you have your Zed attacking, and the way you set it up, you think he's going to kill something, and then your opponent plays a spell that's buffs up the defender, and all of a sudden your Zed's going to get killed instead. You just play this in the middle, you buff him, give him 3 more health, or 3 more attack because he's first strike there. He's going to do the damage first, so you buff him up. He will either survive or kill the opponent's minion. It's very powerful for keeping your minions alive and not letting the opponent take them out with a spell. The next card on the list is Spirit's Refuge. This is a 4-cost card that is a burst spell, meaning you can play it in the middle of combat and it will counter an opponent's spell by giving an ally barrier and lifesteal this round. So if they try to take out your Teemo or your Zed or one of your other minions, you can give a barrier to resist any type of damage. Also, if they have a huge card that's going to, do a huge amount of damage to your face, you can block with a 1/1, put barrier on it, and it'll stop all the damage and it won't even kill your unit. So this is really great card. It keeps your units alive. I absolutely recommend putting 3 of these in the deck as well. I'm sorry, 2. I have 2 of these in the deck. Then I also have 2 Will of Ionia. This is a 4-cost recall a unit. I use this to recall anything they cast that's very expensive. So if they cast, you know, a 6, 7, 8 cost minion, you just recall it. They wasted all their mana. They have to spend it again the next turn to resummon it. You can also cast this mid-combat. If they think they're being sneaky and doing something you don't want them to, just recall their unit and it no longer attacks you. Very powerful card. It's very useful. This along with the Spirit's Refuge and the Twin Discipline. Those 3 cards are what going to save your minions from getting killed. After that, we already went over Dawn and Dusk. Then I have 3 endgame cards. I have 2 copies of the Empyrean, 1 of Yone, and 1 of Mina. These are only in here for games that go long. This whole deck is designed to win you games by turn 7. Sometimes it goes longer than that if the opponent has some counters or you just drew poorly. Once in a while you will get to late game where you need to play some big cards to win. That's why I only have 4 out of 40 cards are designed for late game, but they do save you once in a while. I have 2 copies of the Empyrean. It's just a 7-cost, 6/5 elusive, meaning he can't be blocked except by elusive units. So if you're able to get him on the board, then he's going to do 6 unblockable damage every turn. Obviously, you only have 20 health, so this is going to win the game pretty quickly. And by the time you're on turn 7, if you haven't already won, the opponent's probably pretty low, probably 10 or less health. 2 hits with this, he's done for. I also have 1 copy of Yone the Windchaser, 6/6 for 7. He stuns 2 enemies when he's played. So a lot of times this will be your turn 7 play to win you the game. Say you have 3 or 4 minions on board, but the opponent has a few stronger minions that he's been blocking with, like Braum or something like that. You can stun 2 of them, take them out of the game for that turn, and then continue to attack with everything. A lot of times this card here will be the last card you play before you see the victory screen. Just 1 of those though. And then Mina Swiftfoot, 9 cost. If you get to round 9, like I said, there's only 1 copy in the whole deck. It's only meant for certain situations. A lot of times you're not going to make it that far, but sometimes you need this. And if you make it to round 9 and play this card, you're probably going to win that turn. You play, recalls 3 enemies. Sends 3, obviously you're going to pick their 3 strongest, their 3 best cards, put them back into their hand, and then you attack. Now they don't have enough to block with, you usually will win. Once again, only 1 copy of this though, because you're usually not going to even make it to turn 9. You're usually going to win before that. So that's that. That's all the cards in the deck here. And now we're going to play a few games. I'm going to show you some clips of what I was talking about with the different combinations, with Dawn and Dusk, with the Kenku Wayfinder, with Zed, and with Teemo here, all the mushrooms. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, I have a 77% win rate so far out of the first 30 games I've played. So yeah, let's get started. Let's go play some games. I'm going to play the Kenku Wayfinder. 90% chance to draw 2 Teemos. There they are. Boom. I don't really care what he plays right now, because everything I have, unless he plays something with 4 or more health, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm now going to attack with just about everything. All 3 Teemos and my Zed. So Zed summons another copy of Living Shadow. So now this guy's got to try to block. This guy can't block. Technically, he could block this with one of the spiders. He could block the Zed, but it's got first strike, so it's not a smart move. But yeah, so we can. This spider's going to die. Zed will take no damage. This was going to die anyway. It's ephemeral, so I'm totally happy with this block. Hit OK. Killed both of the spiders. 5 more mushrooms. 5 more mushrooms. Now that's leveling up all 3 Teemos. So now I have 3 2/2 Teemos. It's going to double the amount of mushrooms right there. And he's down to 12. So now he's already got 28 mushrooms in his deck. My next turn, it's going to double it, double it, double it. He's going to kill 1 Teemo. That's fine. We're still going to do 8 and double the amount of mushrooms twice. He's down to 2, and now he has 124 puff caps in his deck. So as we hit end round, we can expect the victory here. He should draw at least 2, if not more. Let's see. Draws a card, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mushrooms. He's dead. That's how it's done. That's how you win Teemo and mushrooms. So Kenku Wayfinder should summon 2 Teemos, 90% chance.
Watch the branches.
There we go. Now I've got 3 Teemos and a Zed to attack. He can block one of the Zeds with his Braum. But besides that, it should add a lot of mushrooms to his deck and do some damage.
I am the
Oh, he played his own Zed. That's not really going to help you. You never block Zed with the Zed. Play those, play these Teemos, and attack.
Stand behind Braum.
Like I said, he could block with one of them with Braum. Okay, kill one of your Poros. That's okay. I still get all three Teemos to go through. Oh, this is elusive. You should actually block Teemo with that.
Disappoint me.
I don't know how he got. Oh, yeah, you have an elusive Poro.
You are safe.
This thing makes a random Poro, and he happened to get an elusive one. He should block Teemo. If he doesn't, he's making a big mistake there. Oh well. I'm okay with these mistakes. Right? There's 5, 10, 15. Now they're all level 2. Now he can't really block with his 1/1. So he screwed up pretty bad there. But let's get rid of this Braum. We don't need him blocking. We're going to attack with everything. So 3... He's going to take 6 just from my Teemos. He should be dead right now. Yeah, there you go. He didn't even try to block because he knew it was game over. Here we go. Another victory. Zed levels up. And the game's over. Get it, boys. And then he's going to draw a card right now and take, I guarantee, 1 for Magic of Teemo Mushrooms. And he's going to draw 6. Okay, we'll win again. Just like that. Plus, I'm going to go ahead and cast this Dawn and Dusk on Teemo. Hopefully he doesn't have anything to counter it. I doubt he will.
The shadows rise.
So now I've got force for this turn. Make this a 4/1.
Our strength is yours.
That doesn't matter at all. And now I attack with everything. And you're Eldetto. Super dead. 3 to 19, and you got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 unblockable damage, plus 2 Zeds, plus a ton of mushrooms. Ton of mushrooms. Good night. How many mushrooms? 208. 416 puff caps. You're already dead, but even if you weren't, probably roll 15 of them or something the next turn. Alright, let's see what happens. I'm going to attack with 5 Teemos and a Green Glade duo. If this works without getting stopped, he's going to get shit off. Look at this. Mushrooms. They're all going to turn into 2/2. He's not even going to get to draw the mushrooms. He's just going to die for Teemos. But he would have had 400 and something. Yeah. At least 208, maybe double that. So I will attack with all my 4 Teemos. It's going to do 8 damage to him, take him down to 3. And watch how many mushrooms he's going to put in his deck. Double, 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 doubled. He's now got 416 puff caps in his deck. So now all I do is end my turn, and he's going to draw a lot more than 3, that's for sure. All I do is hit end round. He draws a card on round 7, and also 19 mushrooms. GG. Alright guys, thanks for watching the guide video on the Teemo and Zed deck I made. Hopefully you have as good a luck as I did. Alright, see you next time.